For centuries, politics have always had a vital importance in our society by allowing the arrival of new solutions on regional, national, and international scales. However, there are different ways to use the policy. This is why we can ask ourselves this question: is the end goal of politics morality or success? Politics is the art of conducting the affairs of states and can also be considered as a skill manifested in dealing with others, which essentially consists in getting others to do what one wishes without necessarily revealing one's intention. The end is a goal that constitutes the end of something, the objective to be achieved. Morality is a set of rules concerning the action permitted and forbidden in a society, whether or not they are confirmed by law. Finally, we can define success as the fact of succeeding, of obtaining good results in social and professional life. Thus, we can see that politics is defined as stark opposites. Yet, we might think this is wrong. It is therefore understood that neither morality or success could be ends of politics, and that there is a third option, and we can therefore ask ourselves another question. To what extent is the goal of politics different from success or morality? So firstly, I will talk about how morality is the goal of politics, then how the success of politics, is important for politics, and finally, how the common good is the objective of politics, and to achieve it, various means are allowed. Morality is a goal that many people consider to be the only solution for the community to achieve an ideal aimed at the fulfillment of society. Firstly, politics can solve morally oriented problems on an international scale. Indeed, politics can affect many people and therefore solve serious situations that could destroy the lives of millions. For example, Operation Barkhane aims to fight against Salafist jihadist armed group in the Sahel region. This action has a moral purpose because it protects weaker countries that could not fight terrorism. Politics can therefore have a humanitarian purpose. Secondly, we can define tyranny as an arbitrary and absolute power of a sovereign person or group of persons holding supreme authority. But politics limits the risk of tyranny, as the people can choose not to support their leader or even revolt. In this case, he exercises a counterpower. For example, in his discourse on voluntary servitude, La Boétie shows the people that it is enough to no longer feed the tyrant with his property, but because indeed the tyrant draws his power from the submission of people. At the end of the text, after inciting them to revolt, the author revealed that it is enough to simply want to free themselves from the tyrant to become free. Therefore, politics in the hand of people can be used to overthrow the tyrant and act as a check. Finally, politics aim to achieve a moral ideal of fraternity because it brings together people of different opinions, beliefs, cultures, and social backgrounds under the same banners, thus promoting a peaceful exchange between citizens. For example, in his letter to Monsieur Ertelou, in which he praises fraternity, Victor Hugo shows that people of different racial origins can, through politics, come together to defeat racism. He therefore uses politics to denounce racial crimes and defend an idea of progress. In particular, the spun metaphor, torches of progress, illuminating the way of man, announce that the future is bright for men who will be free from all slavery. By comparison, La Boétie also praises fraternity, but does not speak of racism. Above all, he says that men are alike and brothers. He has created and cast us all in a way in the same mold to show us that we are all equal, or rather brothers. He shows that physical inequalities are not made to to oppress his neighbor, who is weaker, but to defend him. So we can see that politics aim to bring men together in a shared brotherhood. In Victor Hugo, fraternity is manifested by the desire to abolish racism, while in La Boétie, fraternity is demonstrated by the need for mutual aid because of physical difference. To conclude, morality is a goal of politics because politics can resolve internationally conflicts to protect population because politics can limit the risk of tyranny, and finally, because politics aim to achieve a moral ideal of brotherhood. However, besides morality, success is also an objective of politics because it also allows satisfying the desire for power and the wealth of politicians. Thus, the profession of politician aims at financial success for those who exercise, because the economic benefits generated by the contact with high spheres of influence can be massive. Many more or less legal techniques are used to increase one's personal fortune, which makes it possible to receive money in different ways. In particular, a politician uses his image and influence to receive money from companies or his supporters. For example, Donald Trump was using his status as President of the United States to make even more money. He was posting messages on his 23 million follower Instagram account to advertise Goya's food, allowing Trump to receive money from the food brand. He was also spending government money to finance his election campaign to try to get re-elected for the second time. Politics is therefore a good way to obtain money from all people of all social classes. Politics is also a way to gain power while having more weakness. Indeed, few people want to at their head a politician who had done immoral action. However, politics make it possible to promote access to this power thanks to a system concealing its effects. For example, in Les Lettres persanes, Montesquieu criticized the King of France who uses the pride of his subjects to be able to satisfy his needs, but also fills in his moral gaps by making them believe that certain action, impossible to carry out, can be accomplished thanks to his position of king. The author also criticizes the fact that King Louis XIV creates many contradictions because he imposes his religion but does not respect it. He spent as much money on his court to satisfy his ego as on his battles which defends the country. So we see that politics is a good way to hide the faults of the sovereign, which allows access to power easily. However, a person does not always need to be king or head of state to be successful in politics. Colonization is a way to leave your name in history and to be recognized by other human beings. However, the destruction of many countries can shock the memory of the descendant and the oppressed people. For example, Hernan Cortés invaded Mexico and California, destroying the Aztec civilization in his path and killing tens of thousands of Amerindians. However, he left a permanent mark on the history of the conquest of America, conquering many territories and allowing Spain to expand its vast empire. Although these actions were condemned by Pope Julius III because of the slavery, torture, and killing of the Aztecs, he received from King Charles V the Marquisate of the Valley of Oaxaca. To conclude, success is one of the aims of politics because it is an easy way to get rich without too much effort, to take power over an entire country when one has manifold, or even leave its mark in history. Finally, we'll see that the common good is the objective of politics, and that to achieve it, various means are permitted, whether moral or not. First, the politician's objective is to gain the confidence of the people for the common good. So he must sometimes have certain weakness in his political management. Indeed, most people want to vote for a person who has qualities and who seems perfect. To inspire this confidence and therefore gain power, the politician must therefore hide some of his faults that the opposition could exploit to create a breach in his political program. We can take, as an example, The Prince of Machiavelli, which shows that men are more likely to trust appearances and that the deceiver will always find someone to deceive. It reveals that a politician does not need certain quality, but rather to pretend to have them to be a politician and to be successful. The politician must be able to change his principles very easily when the movement arises. We can therefore see that politicians lie out of necessity to gain power, and therefore have to idealize their public image. Politics is also a means of spreading the power of the community through other nations. Indeed, this demonstration of power makes it possible to acquire many advantages that could benefit the community. Politics, therefore, influences the choice of certain countries and generates significant change for everyone. For example, when the Brazilians came to visit King Charles IX in August 1563, the Frenchmen showed them all their wealth, and as Montaigne reports, asked the Brazilians' opinion to have a different look, proving that France shines throughout the world. Charles IX also sought to strengthen his influence among the nobles to have more money, and also to show that France could colonize other countries and enlarge its kingdom. Through foreign policies, a country can influence the domestic or foreign policy of other countries. However, the common good can sometimes be overemphasized and not respect human freedoms. Indeed, the principle of the community then takes over, and the humans who populate this community no longer count as individuals. They must obey rules which suppress all their rights and give them more and more binding duties. People no longer count as individuals with their personalities, but as identical members of the group. For example, in Brave New World, the dystopian novel from Huxley, it proves that this type of society where the common good is put too forward is not viable because happiness is acquired artificially through the use of drugs. Members of this community are indoctrinated from birth to prevent discontent. The caste system privileged citizens at the top of the pyramid, the alphas, while the epsilons at the very bottom are physically exploited. The common good is just a deceptive facade of the regime that turns out to be a dictatorship. We can therefore see that even if in small doses, politics for the common good is important. It can quickly show its limit if this becomes the sole goal, regardless of the fate of the individual. In conclusion, we can see that success and morality are not the only goals of politics, and that the common good is a third option. Indeed, the common good, success, and morality could all be involved while getting the best of both parties. However, each goal has its flaws, and the role of the politician will be to avoid these pitfalls according to the path he has chosen. Thank you.